G'day chemist. So today let's have a look at our IB question of the day. We are going to look at a question from paper 1B. Well, the style of question that's going into paper 1B. For example, if you were to use the question bank, or your teachers were using the question bank. And we're going to have a look at some sort of SPDF, atomic structure, as well as properties and so on. Okay, so let's have a look. Here is our question. Pause the video after I've read it, have a go at the question, and then we'll come back. There are 3 marks in total. And the first part of the question is, state the electron configuration of sulfur, S. State a physical property of sulfur which supports its classification as a non-metal element. And part C, suggest a balanced equation for the reaction of an oxide of sulfur with water. Pause the video, have a read of those questions, have a go at those questions, and then we'll come back. Alrighty, so starting off from the beginning, you'll have your periodic table with you in the exam, obviously, when you're doing your questions, hopefully. But there's this version of the periodic table to keep in mind. This one here shows us where all the different elements exist, right? With relation to their electron configuration, we have the S block, so the valence shell of this one contains up to 2s, right? 2s's. The valence shell of this one here might contain, will contain 2s's and, what's that for? 4p electrons. But if we come down to, say, here, or here, we'll go here. The valence shell will contain 2 4s electrons. It's a word you need to remember in chemistry. 10 3d electrons and 2 4p electrons, right? So it's important to sort of keep this model in your brain. And then there's the F block ones, which you'll never look at during your high school courses. Okay, so this is the element we're looking for. That's where sulfur lives, right? So because of that, we know that our valence shell is going to contain 2 3s, there's no D blocks, and then 1 2 3 4 3p electrons. So our electron configuration is going to be 1s2 2s2, so 1s2 2s2 2p6 because that's full, 3s2 that's full, 3p4. That's our electron configuration. Now, there is, of course, the other way to do it, and both are acceptable. One is the contracted version using neon up here, the noble element, so we can do the noble element notation, which would start with square brackets neon. So what that means is it has this 1s2, right? So that's helium, 2s2, 2p6. So all of that information is contained within neon there. And then it's 3s2, 3p4. So we just need to include that last little bit if we do it in that direction. All right. State a physical property of sulfur which supports its classification as a non-metal element. When somebody's asking you if it's a metal or a non-metal, I nearly always go for its insulator status. So insulator of electricity. Of course, you can't use that when you're talking about carbon. When you talk about carbon, you talk about it being brittle and so on. So insulator of electricity is the one I would go for. But the answer also would have accepted anything of like insulator of heat. You can say non-conductor if you'd prefer. Or the fact that it's dull or brittle. So that's good. So know those. So any of those would have been acceptable. And suggest a balanced equation for the reaction of an oxide of sulfur with water. So we have SO2, that's sulfur dioxide. And now if we go SO2 plus H2O, that gives us H2SO3, sulfurous acid. Great equation. I was going to say it doesn't need balancing. It does need balancing, because it's a chemical equation. It's just that when you write it straight like that, it's already balanced. There is another option, which is SO3, so sulfur trioxide. I personally prefer this one because it goes to my favorite acid, but either one's fine. So SO3 gas plus H2O liquid goes to H2SO4 sulfuric acid aqueous. So those are our answers right there. Alrighty, so what are our key takeaways? Our key takeaways here would be, know the SPDF locations of the periodic table, nice and straightforward. Know your various comparative properties and be able to link them to the periodic table, so like the trends and stuff. The other thing, this question B could be a 2-mark answer, or a 3-mark answer actually, if they really were feeling generous. It does happen, but not as likely. State of physical property. So you could explain a physical property, right? So, I don't know, it's dull because all of its electrons are fairly bonded close to it, so you get less reflections from the sea of electrons and so on, right? There's all sorts of different things that you do. So if you could also explain those properties, that would be a good idea. Why are metals conductors whereas non-metals aren't conductors? If they're going to ask about carbon, they might ask, why, if it's a non-metal, does it conduct electricity? And you want to be able to talk those delocalized electrons in between the layers of graphite there. And of course, when we talk about carbon conducting electricity, we mean as graphite. Anyway, I hope those questions made sense. If you have any questions at all, put them in the... Sorry, that's my cat. I don't know if you can hear that. If you have any questions at all, put them in the comments below, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Hit like, hit subscribe, and that way you'll sort of see us with the next ones as we come up in the lead up to your exams. And yeah, we'll see you next time. We'll see you tomorrow with some more questions. Bye now.